Hello, beautiful people. It's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're back again with another video and still on the Blake Lively and the Justin Baldoni situation. We're going to be checking this video, and this is from a TikTok creator, um, a Broadway performer, actress, and she has interesting things to share regarding this situation and also regarding the video evidence that was released. And yeah, we're going to check this together, and I also love your thoughts in the comments below. Let's check it out.
Point that some of us are missing is that it's not a question about whether or not Blake Lively looked uncomfortable in that footage that Justin Baldoni released. Because even if you thought she did look uncomfortable, the question is whether or not that was discomfort from being kind of a mediocre actress. The point that some of us are missing is that it's not a question about whether or not Blake Lively looked uncomfortable in that footage that Justin Baldoni released. Because even if you thought she did look uncomfortable, the question is whether or not that was discomfort from being kind of a mediocre actress that wasn't able to handle the intimacy of such type of material, or whether or not she was uncomfortable because she actually thought Justin Baldoni was not in character and was harassing her. I actually do think that she looked very uncomfortable. But that does not mean that I think that she looked like she felt unsafe. I've already talked about this in my video I made about this months and months ago as a professional Broadway actress, as someone that's been on television and movie sets. But specifically in the world of acting, feeling safe and being safe are different, especially with this type of material. Again, we should acknowledge that a lot of this is the swamp fire that we're seeing when you don't have intimacy coordinators. And this situation is a perfect manifestation and demonstration of exactly why. But aside from the fact that there could obviously be room for improvement there, and we've talked about that a lot of the think pieces that I'm seeing about this particular piece of footage that was just released, the slow dancing footage that was supposed to be in slow-mo that supposedly had no audio. I'm just going to say this. A lot of you guys making videos are making it from the lens of someone that has no idea what they're talking about when it comes to how the industry works. Meaning you might be identifying discomfort and awkwardness and a weird type of energy, but you don't know. None of us actually know, but you don't know specifically whether or not that was her feeling uncomfortable as Blake, a person, or uncomfortable as an actress. A lot of you guys are making it very apparent that you don't understand the nature of like close-up shots and the nature of improvisation and what happens, especially when you're getting footage that you don't even think has sounds. Like improvisation is a very specific type of thing. And I mean this in the best way, but it's almost as if it's giving the type of person that actually goes to a Broadway show and thinks that all the people like ad-libbing in the background on stage as extras and characters are actually up there in character saying their lines. My point is that Blake Lively painted a narrative, and I'm going to use the words that she used, that Justin Baldoni did things that were not even remotely in character. That is not what I saw at all in that footage. Should it have been mapped out much more specifically with the presence of an intimacy coordinator? Of course, absolutely. To me, when Blake Lively kept saying things like, I think we should be talking right now, and her entire energy of discomfort in that footage really read as something I've seen a million times before, which is, this scene is so intense and I am actually emotionally as an actor not comfortable dealing with the heaviness and intimacy of the scene, so I'm going to try to laugh my way out of it as a means to make it less awkward. Nervous laugh.
Absolutely. And let me just add to it that this this TikTok creator was the first to call it out. Even before the video footage was released, she was the first to call it out, to say that somebody actually fell out of character, and that stood out and that made sense, because lots of people did not understand, or lots of people did not, when Blake Lively filed the CRD complaint and Justin Baldoni's lawsuit and $400 million lawsuit, she first called it out. No, I think prior to Justin Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit, before, she first called it out as somebody fell out of character. And I mean, even when the video was released, we saw, yeah, that actually true, somebody fell out of character. Let me know what you think.
Is of the scene, so I'm going to try to laugh my way out of it as a means to make it less awkward. Nervous laughter is one of the most common ways that actors who are uncomfortable channel that nervous energy. Because being awkwardly locked in to making eye contact with somebody for prolonged periods of times, unless you've done that before, you don't realize how awkward that truly is. It takes a lot to sit with. So to me, and of course, this is all up to interpretation, but to me, that only logically reads as Justin was actually the one in character. She is the one that keeps insisting on breaking character because she is uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean unsafe. That doesn't mean that Justin Baldoni wasn't in character when she felt uncomfortable. Because I gotta say, I think that this almost just proves Justin's point even more. Because imagine if the whole time Blake had been trying to be in character and be serious, right? And imagine if the whole time Justin had been the one being like, come on, I think we're talking. Come on, come on, come on. You could also interpret that as Justin not being remotely in character and Blake trying to be the one acting and him insisting on kissing up on her. To me, that's actually more of a signifier that Blake would be in the right here. But that's not what we saw. And literally months ago when all of this started, it's been a whirlwind since then, I literally said, we absolutely don't know the truth yet. We'll have to wait till more and more evidence comes out. Because you can absolutely be unlikable and also be telling the truth that you felt uncomfortable. Even further than that, you can also be unlikable and be a little bit delulu and have a distorted vision of reality when it comes to whether or not somebody was actually coming on to you in a personal way and not in a professional and character way. That is possible too. You know, who knows whether or not this is Ryan Reynolds' fault. I personally don't love Ryan Reynolds because I actually don't find him that clever, but that's just my personal opinion. But specifically when it comes to the footage that everyone is interpreting, if you are trying to have input and you don't have the understanding of the context of a professional set and the industry, you are missing some pieces. Not to say you might not end up being right. That's not to say I might not end up being wrong. I'm just saying the fact that you think that she looks uncomfortable alone is still not proof that she's right. The degree to which Blake talked about that scene being a violating experience for her does not reflect on that footage to me at all. If it is a prolonged scene that they are trying to get footage from something, like I said, a slow-mo moment, a lot of it is improv and prolonged because you're trying to catch moments, almost like B-roll moments. So no matter how intricate the intimacy coordinators who weren't there might have the choreography down, to a certain extent, you are not going to be infinitesimally able to choreograph every little movement of that character down to the specifics. They have to be able to live and breathe in that moment. That is acting, and it requires a certain amount of good faith in each other. Trust. That doesn't mean that certain things won't inevitably happen to where you're like, ooh, that really did feel a little uncomfortable. Like, ooh, I didn't really like that. It is possible to feel like that and have those experiences and it still not be an unsafe, abusive, sexually harassing work environment. I cannot tell you how many times on Broadway that I got fondled, literally almost wearing nothing, and I did feel uncomfortable. I didn't like the certain way somebody might have touched me at some particular point, but not because I felt unsafe, because the nature of the material was affecting me. And the few times that I might have felt like something was actually unnecessary and it didn't resonate with me and I didn't feel comfortable with it, I said something right then and there about it. And even then, plenty of those times when I was putting my foot down saying, I don't really like this, that still doesn't mean that I was accusing that person of being unprofessional, but it meant those were my boundaries. And a really important part of this entire discussion has been the concept of power dynamics. Not only the power dynamic of Justin as director and as someone playing somebody that has emotional power over somebody else to an abusive degree, but also the power dynamic of Blake Lively taking over with Ryan Reynolds and co-opting an entire project. And that's relevant because since so much of this is up to interpretation, a lot of it will come down to, do you actually think Blake Lively was disempowered in the creative process of this movie? Which to me, the answer so far has been very much no. And my point is that multiple things can be true at the same time. Not only could she be unlikable, but also be telling the truth about feeling sexually harassed, but also be unlikable and think that she's telling the truth about feeling uncomfortable when she really didn't need to be feeling uncomfortable. One of the number one ways that nervous energy and unprofessionalness and discomfort manifests for kind of mediocre actors when they're not comfortable doing love scenes and intimate scenes, whether it's on film or on stage, is wanting to talk and nervous energy and wanting to like not be actually in the moment for that prolonged period of time. I'm just saying, as someone that has had to do scenes like that so many years on Broadway where you're just spending minutes and minutes and minutes just this close to somebody, rubbing all over them rubbing all over you, which will inherently always be a somewhat uncomfortable situation if people are doing their jobs correctly. To me, Justin Baldoni's energy was spot on to what I've always experienced from extremely professional people when we are in those very specific moments of unique improv. Because when she said we should be talking, it's not like he was just silent the whole time being awkward and being even more intense. He brought up her spouse. He was laughing with her. He was making jokes. And regardless of all of this, it is still, no matter what, a long, far cry from him being not remotely in character, the way the narrative that she released described it. And I understand that some of you want to defend Blake no matter what in the name of being like a girl's girl and feminism, but I also want you to think about the potential impact that this could have on the career for future people that might actually go through things like sexual harassment. Because to falsely acclaim someone else of being sexually harassing and unprofessional when you are doing a movie about sexual harassment, that's a big deal. That doesn't do any favors to other women in the industry. Again, we learn something new, we'll think something different. But the way some of y'all are interpreting this footage with obviously no experience with what you're talking about as far as like the industry and like acting, don't even address the nuance between being uncomfortable as an actor and uncomfortable as a person. Just because you don't feel safe doesn't automatically mean you're not safe. In the same way that just because you are safe, it doesn't really matter if you don't feel safe. But that matters specifically when it comes to acting, which is all about the accuracy of feeling. Feeling.
Absolutely. And lots of people looked at the video footage and really want to paint this narrative to say, oh, Blake is the victim here. Obviously, I mean, I'm glad that she pointed it out because I mean, she was the first to call it out, like we already said before, that somebody in this case wasn't in character, and the video already confirmed it. And Justin was in character, if we're being honest with ourselves. And lots of actors have actually shared their thoughts regarding this, that Justin was in character while Blake wasn't. I mean, even us as individuals can say it. But again, the fact that Blake Lively felt uncomfortable, exactly what she said here, doesn't mean that she was being SH'd. Potentially, she felt uncomfortable because she wasn't acting as Lily, she was acting as Blake. Or maybe the moment, or maybe, and the fact that they also brought each other's spouse and they were talking all through time, telling themselves or each other what they would do with their spouse and all. I mean, looking at the video footage, I don't even understand why lots of people or how lots of people would read so many meaning to say, oh, because she felt uncomfortable, that means she was SH in the case. We saw the video footage for ourselves and it's not reading what lots of people are reading. But let me know what you think, obviously. And I love listening to the professionals in this case because I mean they know better and they've been most likely acting scenes like this, and they also can share from their view lens. But we're also gonna check another video from her.
Okay, I mean this in the best possible way, but this is exactly what I was talking about in the video that I just made when I said that if you're not an actor, you can't necessarily accurately assess the situation with that Justin and Blake footage because sometimes you don't understand the industry. So just let me explain again. When it comes to acting, the point is to make it believable. Not that actors won't necessarily feel those emotions, they absolutely will, but that is where the priority is. So for instance, if you were to go see a Broadway show, right, that had a big ensemble number where a lot of like people are on stage for a long time that aren't speaking, but they're like ad-libbing to each other and they're in character, do not be fooled. Those actors on stage are not spending however much time they're on stage actually being like, oh, good day, my lord. Oh, did you see what the piper said? They're talking to each other about lunch, but their physicality is in character because that's all the audience cares about and can detect. And in the same way, when you're doing things in the industry like clips that are supposed to be in slow-mo, things that aren't going to have audio, the physicality is then what is going to define being in character. I want you to think about it this way. When I was on Broadway and I had my scene where I literally spent I think it was something like 10 minutes just being fondled by people that were supposed to be soldiers in the show. If my dance partners had spent that entire time actually saying things in character to me, like, oh, baby, oh, I'm going to get you tonight. Like, oh, yeah. That actually would have felt really uncomfortable and unprofessional to me in that moment to a certain extent because it's unnecessary. Now listen, sure, you're going to have some method actors that are really consistently insistent on being in character on stage, even for times like that the audience can't hear them. But my point is that just them talking during that scene when they're supposed to be in character, that talking doesn't necessarily mean that they're out of character. Because, by the way, if you think that he's out of character for doing that, then she is also out of character in that scene too, because she's talking about herself as Blake. I think that we should be talking in this. So again, this video isn't even literally about whether or not you believe Blake or Justin, but it's about the industry and the nuance that you have to understand. Because he's almost in a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation here. If he had just been in character that whole time, ignoring Blake while she had been trying to talk to him, saying things like, I think that this should be talking, that would have been weird too. That's what I meant when I said that I found it perfectly professional from my experience because he rode that fine line really well. Like if you've ever been an extra on a commercial and you're having to be like at a party or something for a prolonged period of time, you're not all the time actually laughing in character, being like, oh my God, so Gina, guess what happened last night? Oh my God, shut the fuck up. No, he didn't. If there's no audio, quite often, it's much easier and perfectly professional in those moments to be like, okay, and we're laughing now. We're laughing. Everything is so funny. I don't even know what's going on right now. Get out of here. It is so hot in here. Oh my. As long as you're getting what the director needs for the vision of the piece, that is all that matters. Now, we're like this close and we could go on a diatribe about like a philosophical rant about what is method acting. Should acting actually be autobiographical and pull from personal sense memories and trauma? Which the answer is actually no. You should never actually have to re-traumatize yourself to be able to emote, because then you're actually kind of not acting, right? But this is a big discussion here. But I am just saying, in the context of all of this, it is something that has to be considered. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, ma'am. And with this, we already see that even with Justin being the director and the actor, his focus was, let's just get what we need for this moment. So, and you see, when it switched back to cut and all that, even when they were still interacting and discussing and all that, it was just a good moment for them to like get a good shot. And you see, even at the part where they've been talking about their spouse and all that, you or and they were dancing and all that, you also hear the assistant director saying, oh, the score and the score again and all that. I can't even believe that people are going to miss out on all those points or all those parts. You want to tell me, if she was being sh in that part or in that clip, other people who are there or other crew who are there would not see it and call it out? Exactly. Because if Blake was actually feeling um SH in this case, in that footage, knowing that there are other people there, she potentially would have said something for others to hear. I mean, the place is not that locked in. There were people there as well. So she would have said something or maybe screamed or however the case may be. So others would have heard. And mind you, there were cameras and they were mic'd. Okay, let's say she wasn't mic'd, but Justin Baldoni was mic'd and we could hear everything the both of them were saying. And I want to also believe that people from the the sound department and all that could hear her. So if she was feeling uncomfortable, if she had screamed, somebody would have heard and called it, regardless of the case. But let me know what you think. Obviously, I always love listening to the professionals, and I also love your thoughts regarding this as well. You can share you in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.